Hello everyone, this is Molly at the CMSNet Help Desk. Today I am going to be doing a webinar on the Provider Electronic Data Interchange eSAR Fillable Form. Once again, this webinar is about the eSAR Fillable Form within PEDI. In order for a user in PEDI to have eSAR ability, the liaison has to apply for the eSAR trading partner. If you haven't done that yet, ask your liaison, or if you are the liaison, then go to the liaison guide. Within the guide, there is a section in there on trading partners, the eSAR trading partners, step-by-step instructions on how to apply by logging in and applying for an eSAR trading partner. And once your trading partners get approved by the CMSNet Help Desk, there's instructions within the manuals on how you can assign the eSAR role to your staff. So I'm going to go ahead and continue the webinar, assuming that you have already, or your PEDI domain already has access to do eSAR. So this is a webinar to show you how to actually complete the eSAR fillable form for an established client, how to request for a new eSAR for the client, how to request for a SAR modification for the established client, and also if the client is new to your being seen for your provider or new to your domain, you can also complete the eSAR fillable form for the new client. So I will be going over that as well. And if you ever have any questions about which provider is within your domain and that you are allowed to view SARs for or request authorization for, which is SAR, for, you can always run the report. The NPI report will display and show you all the NPIs and special care centers within your domain. Okay? And you should know that you can only view SARs and request SARs for providers within your domain. And if it's not in your domain, you won't be able to do that. So my assumption is that you know all the providers within your domain. So the first steps to do for the eSAR fillable form is you're going to click on search, and it's a requirement that you always have to search for a client first. If you don't search for a client, you wouldn't know if the client already exists or not to the CCS or JHP program. So the first thing I'm going to do is an example, and of course you should, this is the client search screen. You can search by client's case number, SIN, SSN, SAR number, the client's last name, first name, date of birth, gender, service begin date, and end date. Okay, in this case I'm going to do, my first example is an established client. So I know my client's name, and this is basically a fake client that I created. So this is my test client, female, and I'm going to do a search, and the result shows my client, which is right here. And if I click right here, request new eSAR, that basically means the client that I found, yes, it is the client within my domain, but there's another new client that came in and just happens to have the same name. If you're not going to accept the client, then go ahead. If this is not the client that you are trying to request the authorization for, then click on request new eSAR. When you click on the request new eSAR, it will take you to the fillable form to complete for the new client. Okay, but let me go ahead and go back. We are going to do an example of a established client. So I'm going to click on search, have my client here, and this is the client that I want, so I'm going to click on test client, and it will bring me to the search result list of clients here. And this client has some authorizations here that is already either authorized or waiting for service review. So basically, let me go ahead and explain this before I do the eSAR fillable form. This right here is the search result list of clients, and it displays the requests that providers have submitted over to county users, and county users or JHP entered into the system, and the providers have access to PEDI to view the service authorizations requests. So right here, this one right here is an authorized SAR, and the reason why I know it's an authorized SAR is because the status says authorized. This right here is a new SAR request because, and I know it's a new SAR request because it has a temporary SAR number. It's a SAR number that is not starting with a 9 and it's shorter. So it's basically not yet an authorization, but it's waiting to be reviewed by the county users or the GHP staff, and it will display as a waiting service review. This one right here I know is a pending SAR and it's still awaiting service review. So this SAR exists in the system in CMSNet, but a provider or one of your coworkers went in there and requests for a modification. Therefore, it is displayed here as awaiting service review for the county's users to review the changes and accept for the pending SAR. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do an example now as a established client. This is my client, and I'm going to do a new eSAR request. So I'm just going to cheat here and use my inpatient. So I am going to go ahead and this is my client is a CCS client, and I'm going to check the CCS indicator. I'm going to put in the provider's NPI. So here we can do a name search or an NPI search or SEC search. Okay, please do not put in both name and NP and the provider ID number. You can only do either or, not both. Okay, so if you do here Valley, and then you try to do the NPI and click find, of course, the system will tell you both provider name and provider ID cannot be entered. Please enter only one. So a lot of people do that. So pick one of them and search. Okay, by clicking on the find. The system will find it and populate the information, and this information right here is the address that was originally registered with Medi-Cal. So if your hospital somehow move or your physician move, you do have the ability to edit the address. Okay, so you can say 123, and I'm just going to say this is my new address. So you would type in the new address, and then of course you would type in your new zip code. So this is just an example of the provider moving to a new location, so that you can edit the address, and now you can enter the service begin date. So the services, if this is an inpatient or an outpatient, you would put in the service begin date, and you can put in the service end date. And then since this is an inpatient SAR, you have to put in a number of days. For all other provider types, this one you know is inpatient. For all other provider types, you have to put in you don't have to put in the number of days. The system will auto-calculate. So this is an example of an inpatient. Okay, and of course, put in the primary diagnosis of the client, and then here you're going to put in whom should the county contact related to this request. So if they have questions about the request that you sent in, this is the person or the office that they should contact. So if you don't want if it's not you directly, then put the main person that is supposed to be answering the question, okay? Or if it's you, then put your name, okay? So in this example, I'm just going to put my name, Molly P, and then I'm going to put my phone number, okay? So don't forget your phone number. If you just put name, they're not going to know really who to contact. So put the name or the department phone number. It's allowed up to 45 characters, and right here in the additional comments section, you can enter in more information about your request, and if you're going to be faxing over a medical justification, this is where you can also enter in the medical justification is coming, being sent, and then you can enter any additional notes that you feel the county user should know. Okay? Alright, so now it's an inpatient, so you don't have to add services. So once done, you can click on submit, and voila, it is done. The system will tell you the SAR has been submitted successfully, and this is the temporary SAR reference number. And write this number down. You can take this number and copy it if you're using a computer, or you can write it down however you want. This is the reference number for this request that you just sent in. And later you can use this number if you want to come directly back in here and do a search by it. So the SAR number, since it's a temporary SAR number, you can use it to search and see the status. So here I search for it, And I can see that it went over to the CMSNet application for the county users to review, and it is in awaiting service review. They haven't worked it. The moment that they worked it, if they deleted it or if they authorize it, penned it, you'll see that the status changed. So I'm going to go here because I know my client. So let's go back here to basically review how the information looks like. So here is my new request that I had sent in, and it's the Valley, and it's still waiting to be processed, okay, over at the CMSNet office. And here's an example of a request that the county user deleted. So actually it's really me testing, but so here for a deleted one, what you can do is to find out the reason or why they deleted. The county users do have the ability to enter comments in. So you can click on the view icon of the SAR that you're trying to view, and in the pop-up it will have the client information, the provider information, your service that you request for, and also the rejection detail. The rejection detail will tell you what they selected as the rejection. So if they couldn't find any reason to match the reason why they were trying to reject your request, they will just put input error, and they should add a comment here explaining the reason why it is being rejected, okay? Alright, so I showed you basically how to complete a new eSAR request for an established client. Basically from here, the search results screen, you would click on the request new eSAR, and it would basically take you to the eSAR fillable form for the established client, and it'll have the client information to check out here. You of course click CCS, enter in your provider information, and the service. So here in the next example, I'll just go ahead and let's do a physician. So I'm going to do a physician. Let's see, so I'm going to choose my physician. Let's see, that's not the right number. Let's see if I can remember my provider here. Yay! Alright, so there you go. And the service begin date, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and say the client's coming in on the 7th, and the SAR is good to the 11th. Put in my DX, and then I am going to put my information. You would put your reason, office visit, or need surgery, or whatever that you want to type in, okay? So the message that you want the county users to see, alright? And I'm just testing, so of course I'm just going to put my comment. Dun, 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 dun. So the next thing, so once you put in your comment and everything, for a physician, if you try to submit, it'll say service codes are required, because you need to do service code first. So the first example I showed you was inpatient, so the add services is not available because you don't need to put services for inpatient. For all other provider type, like I mentioned, will require you to add services. So to add services, you're going to click on Add Services. And before I click on Add Service, like I would like you to remind you, so if the provider you selected here is incorrect and you need to change the provider, clear out the name, provider name field, and the provider ID field, and then enter your new one in. So if you wanted to change it, you would clear those two fields out, put in your new one in one of either the name field or the provider ID field, okay? And then you press find or enter, and voila, it pre-populates your new one that you selected. So that's how to clear out and pick another provider, okay? Now let's go ahead and add services to this physician SAR, add services. So for the physician SAR or outpatient SARs, medical or DME or pharmacies, this is how you will be adding the services that you're going to be requesting for. So a lot of people make the mistake of entering both the code and the description. That's incorrect. It's either or. So if you're going to be entering procedure code, you choose either to put in the service code or the description. If you're going to do service code grouping, either do the type in 01, 02, 03, 04, or type in the description. Okay? Same thing with NDC, type in the 10-digit NDC number or the generic drug name or label drug name. Same thing with medical supply, either the medical supply code or the generic name or the label name. So everything is or. So pick only one thing to enter in. So in my first example, I'm going to do a code here. And then so I enter my code, and you can press enter or you can press search. And if it's a one-on-one match, it will just auto-populate into the service code information section here. And you can put in your units, and you can go back and add more codes. So the descriptions, you can also type in description, like I mentioned. So not both of them, so you can only do either or, and you can select, and it'll populate here. So I'm just showing you different examples here, okay? And once again, you can also do the code, so you can do the J codes or whatever code you're looking for. You can type in partial code, it populates the list, you select from the list, and then you enter in your units. And same thing for pharmacies, which I'm doing a physician right now, but the steps are the same. For pharmacy SARs, for NDC, you type in the NDC or the name, and click search or enter, and it should populate the information. Okay, so the main point is, whether you're a pharmacy, medical DME, or a physician requesting for physician SAR, just make sure that you are entering the code or description. Don't do both, because if you do both, you're never going to get it. So say, for example, you do J here for the code, and then you do the code here, the description here, and you do find, it's always going to be no record found. Okay? Alright. So another example I would like to do is if you put in a code in error, you want to remove it, the remove icon is right here, and it'll ask if you want to delete it. Click OK, and it will remove it. Okay? So let's go ahead, remove. Okay? So now the next thing is, I would like to show you a lot of physician SARs or special care center SARs are 01 and 02 SAR. If you're trying to ask for service code grouping 01, you can just type in 01 and do enter or search, and it will populate the information here for you and put the unit as 1. Any of the service code grouping, the default of the unit should be 1. Okay? Or you can type in physician, okay, and it will also populate here. But of course, you only need 1, so we can delete this one. So it's just an example to show you. All right. So that is basically how to add services. And once you're done, click submit, and the system will give you the temporary SAR reference number. Alright, so now, I showed you how to do a new SAR request for an established client. Let's go and modify. Yay! Alright. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and select my client. So here we have one authorized SAR here, and I'm just going to show you basically how to request for a modification request. Okay? So for this one is an authorized SAR, and you are going to modify it. So to view the SAR, you click on the view icon, and it brings up the authorized SAR, and this is my fake client, so there's no PHI or anything like that. So that is how to view the authorized SAR. If you need to print it out or whatever, or view it, use the view icon. Now to modify it, you're going to click on the SAR number hyperlink, and it will take you into the authorized SAR and allow you to modify the request. You can edit, here are things that you can edit. You can edit the provider's address. If the address is no longer valid, you can enter in the correct address. Whoops. Alright, let's see. What is San Francisco zip code? So there you go. And then the service dates, you can modify, you can retro if you need to. You can also extend the end date if you need to. The number of days for all provider type and besides inpatient will auto-calculate by itself, so you don't need to do anything with that. The DX you can also change if necessary. You can add another one if you need to, so the system allows you to make changes to these editable fields. And the service codes, once submitted, these are the ones that are already on the authorized SARs. The system will not allow you to edit those information, but you can add more services. So if for whatever reason you need to add more services, you would click on Add Services, and then you can add the codes that you need to, procedure codes, if you're just going to be doing more. So depending on how you do it, like I said, add either or, don't type in both. Add the service code by the code or the description. Enter key or click search will find you, will populate the information, okay? And once you add the codes, you would put in your units and then who to contact, okay? Of course, don't forget this important information, because if the county users cannot contact you if they have questions, they're just going to reject the request. And your additional notes of why the request is being sent in, or if medical justification is coming, put that in so they know that, oh, you do know, that the county users know that yes, you guys put in the request and you'll be sending the medical justification, okay? So once you do all that, you're going to go ahead and click submit. And as you can see here, the reason why the system did not give you a reference number, it's because this is already an established SAR that has a real SAR number already. So when you click to modify it, you already knew the SAR number. So we don't need to give you a fake reference number, a temporary SAR number. So, and if you ever want to go back and verify that it became awaiting service review, you can go ahead and go back into the client's record. And you can review the information. So this is the one that we had put in. Alright, so if you want to also review like this one right here is awaiting service review, it's a pending. This one is the awaiting service review for the authorized SAR. If you would like to see the request that was sent in because it's still awaiting and you want to know the information about it, you can click on the view icon. And here you can see that some of the changes are the address, the dates. This is the new dates that are sent in, and the number of days did change from 28 to 39. So the date, the service began and service end date was modified. The address, and here are the new codes that were sent in. And if you want to actually just view the request that was just submitted instead of this entire thing, you can go ahead and click on the awaiting service review. And this shows you that the request that was sent in, this is the new data, the date, and the end date. This was the two new codes that was added on, the address. So you can, kind of look at it depending on which version you like better. And if you want to print the current SAR, since this was an authorized SAR, if you actually just want to print the existing authorized SAR, then you click on Print Current SAR, and it will give you the authorized SAR as of this moment, okay? Not with the services waiting to be authorized or reviewed. It will basically give you the real authorized SAR using the Print Current SAR button. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And so I showed you how to do a new SAR request for established client and how to modify. I'll do quickly one for an awaiting. So if there is already one that is a modified request that is still in awaiting service review, and you reviewed the information here and you're like, ooh, I made a mistake, and you want to modify it, you can. You can go ahead and click on the SAR link, and the system will say this SAR has a modification request in awaiting review. Do you want to review the existing modification request? If you click yes, it brings up that pop-up that I just showed you. If you click no, it just takes you directly into the authorization to modify. So for this example, I'm going to go ahead and click yes, and you'll see that it pops up the awaiting review for you to see. And the reason why we pop it up is because whatever information that you are now entering in, and so in the background here is the fillable form for the authorized SAR for you to modify. If you don't put in the same information here, whatever you submit again overrides it. So you're deleting. So if you didn't know that the original request was asking for a retro date or the extension, and you just went in and just added one more code, it's not going to do the dates. You have to redo. You have to re-enter because you're replacing it. Okay, modifying and awaiting service review is basically deleting the first copy, the first one being sent, and replacing it with a new one. So the second one, you have to make sure that, okay, you're saying, oh, if I did an end date, a retro begin date, I also extended out the date to the 9th, or if the 9th was what you're trying to change to September 29th, then you would extend it out more. And then the two codes, of course, won't be here. You have to re-add those codes. So you would, or if those two codes were incorrect, you would add the correct code that you're trying to add. Okay? So, and this one right here, so I'm just going to quickly do this. Alright, so don't forget your comments and who to contact, phone number, and click submit, and it will give you saving your changes, will delete the current modification request and awaiting review. Do you want to continue? Click yes. And if you click no, it stays on the screen. You click yes, it deletes the first one and replaces it with this one that you just submitted. Okay? So that is how to modify, or not modify, replace an existing modification request with a new one. Alright, so now on to a eSAR request for a brand new client. So here, first of all, of course, you are required to always search for the client by name, date of birth, everything that you possibly have. Click search, and you'll probably get a no record found if the client doesn't exist, but you'll have the request new eSAR button. So here, you click on request new eSAR button, the system takes you to the eSAR fillable form for a brand new client, and you can go through the forms and complete it. So I'm going to go ahead and do my client as a CCS client, and if it's baby on mom's Medi-Cal, you can click on the mother information section and you can fill out the mom's name and the mom's date of birth, the Medi-Cal ID number, SIN number, SSN, the address. Okay, and then the client information, you will complete the information here by filling out the client's name, date of birth, SIN, the address, the client's phone number, phone notes, primary care physician, guardian, medical record number, primary care physician's phone number, the insurance information, and of course the provider rendering the service, the SARs, and then the SAR information, the service dates, and the diagnosis, and of course who to contact if the county users have questions, your additional notes, whatever field that was up here that was not available but you still want to add more information to clearly explain to the county users your request, you would add that here. Okay, and of course if it's not an inpatient, you do add services. If it's an inpatient, you put the number of days. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and complete this information. So let me do my client. And if you know, so the SIN number, you would put in the client's SIN number here. If it's a client known to Medi-Cal, you would put this client's SIN number. The client's, of course, the date of birth. Okay. You can pick from the calendar or you can type it in, and then gender, male or female. And now if it's a newborn baby or a client not known to the CCS or JHP program or Medi-Cal, put in 00 for the SIN number. Okay, 00 for the SIN number, and then you can put in, of course you won't have a case number, you would put in the referral number. The referral number is the CCS referral number, the one that if the client was previously referred to the CCS or JHP program, there will be a referral number that you previously would have if you were originally the person that referred the client. And the client SSN, if there was any, of course for newborn babies they won't have any. And the client's address, okay, so 123 test, and the the client zip code and the client's phone number. Okay, and the phone notes, guardian, information, medical record number, and the primary doctor, and the primary phone number. And if the client has insurance, or the family, and then of course the provider ID number. Enter or find, and the service begin date, the service end date, the primary diagnosis, who to contact, add the services, or if you're trying to add service code grouping, it'll be 01 or 02 for special care center. Put in your units, and then go ahead and submit. And for I'm not gonna, so here you can put the mom's information, so test mom, And one thing I do want to mention is that currently right now we only have the mom's information, so we don't have the ability for you to submit for other scenario, like if the client is with the dad or foster family, so you can enter that in the additional comment field. You would leave the mom's information blank if you don't know anything about the mom, and then you would put the comment information, the foster information here, the dad, or additional information all in the comments section. Okay, that will be coming in the future, but currently it's not available yet. So here, in order for this one to go through, I did for my client, it's already referred, so I'm going to put in the referral number here. And I am going to submit the request for this. And here is my temporary SAR reference number for this new client. So I can copy it, and then I could search for it using the SAR number field, or I can do a name search. Okay, so here I'm just going to do a SAR number search, and it brings up my client, and that it's an incomplete client, it's a brand new client, and this is the request that was sent in. And if you want to view the information, you can click on view to see what was submitted. Okay, so that is basically it for the webinar. I do wanted to emphasize that basically the eSAR fillable form doesn't have the ability to do attachments, so remember to send your medical justification to the counties after you do the eSAR form. Before we even approve providers to do the eSAR ability to in PEDI, we have already spoke to the person that signed up for it, your liaison or the administrator, that this is basically only phase 2 and attachment is currently not available, so you do need to still fax over the medical justification and reference it to the eSAR and mention that you've on the cover letter that you submitted the eSAR, and provide the eSAR number and the client's identification information such as name, date of birth, their SIN number, or the usual information that you would normally send over. Okay? And if you have any questions, you can always contact the CMSNet Help Desk. And of course, the contact information is available here. You can click Contact Us. Our email, phone number is there. For manuals, you can go ahead and click on Manuals. The eSAR Fillable Form is the manual for what I basically just went over and taught you of how to do for a new client, established client, how to modify, how to view the SARs and understand and look at the rejection reason, delete the free text comment from the county users. Okay? Alrighty, that would be it. Have a good day.